I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Hornady Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Seth Swerzik, joined today by Preston Lentford. Preston, thanks for coming on with me today.
It's always a pleasure to be with you here.
Always a pleasure. I enjoy having you on. You should just like a regular old co-host. You've been on enough of these things. I appreciate the banter.
It's part of the game. I'm really excited about today's guest.
I join you in the excitement. Today's guest is a man that both of us have known now for
5 years?
Yeah, half a decade.
Shall I say Boomshakalaka?
Yeah, Boomshakalaka. We know this guy for about 5 years, and he's one of those guys that where you meet him, you feel instantly connected to the guy. He's very charismatic and
he's a friend to all.
Yeah, we love his friendship. And we've got to know him through the precision rifle community, shooting long-range matches and stuff, but he does a heck of a lot more than that. He's a lot of things, just like a lot of us. Husband and father, first and foremost, and he's also the VP of Sales and Marketing for HS Precision. So, without further ado, Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, guys. I look forward to it. Look forward to chatting with you. It's, as you say, we've known each other for quite a while now, so we've shared some memories over the years anyway.
Indeed. And as it turns out,
they're always fond.
They're always great memories. However, in a lot of the shooting events that we've done together, they've really been horrible. I mean, just straight up not fun. Last year, for example, it was 38, 40 degrees, winds blowing 15 to 20 miles an hour, and it was raining, and we hung out for a weekend. It was horribly miserable, but those experiences with dear friends it's what it's all about.
Oh yeah, you couldn't ask for worse weather conditions, but not a funner match either. So I still think I have mud in my truck from that match last year. So
I believe it. My rifle stock, I cleaned it really good with a bunch of different products, all things but a power washer, and it's still got like this faint brown look to it. Yeah, it's odd. But so we met precision rifle stuff, and that's really our passion, but there's a lot more to it. And with any good story, we got to go backwards. We got to rewind the clocks because Josh Cluff, the VP of Sales and Marketing for HS Precision, well, let's go back to see what was Josh Cluff doing. What was 8, 10, 12-year-old Josh Cluff doing? Where were you at? Where were you born? What was growing up like? Let's go all the way back if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh, you don't want to hear half the stories that I've got to tell in my youth, so I'll keep it PG in there. But
yeah, we do need to keep it PG.
Yeah, if I could tell you some of the stories. Well, I'll phrase it this way. All my friends growing up said my famous last words would be, "Hey guys, watch this." So that still probably holds true to this day. But I was born and raised in the White Mountains of Arizona, Pine Top Lakeside area. Absolutely loved it up there. That's kind of where my true passion for hunting started. My dad, he would take me hunting since I was 4 or 5 years old. Obviously, I couldn't hunt myself, but just going around gathering wood, camping, fishing. And that's where I really had a deep passion and connection for the outdoors, camping, fishing, hunting, shooting, all that. So I grew up in the White Mountains, played sports throughout high school, football, basketball, baseball, golf. From there, I went to Phoenix, Arizona, went to Arizona State University, got my degree in business, played some of the mini tours, played golf, taught, gave golf lessons, worked at some golf courses all throughout college. And then about a year after I graduated, Tom Houghton Sr., the founder and owner of HS Precision, offered me a job. Had to move to Rapid City, South Dakota. I didn't know a single thing about Rapid City or South Dakota other than it was south of North Dakota, which was way up by Canada. So it was completely virgin to me. So very long story short, I was engaged to my wife, obviously my fiance at that time. And so I came home and I said, "Hey, do you want to move to Rapid City, South Dakota?" She's like, "Oh, Rapid City's beautiful." I'm like, "Huh? How do you know that?" So anyway, she used to travel through Rapid City going up to North Dakota where her parents are from. So subsequently, I moved to Rapid City, South Dakota, and that's been 18 years ago. So I've been with the company now going on to my 18th year. We absolutely love it up here. I'm extremely blessed and very fortunate to have a career in a industry that I'm extremely passionate about. You always say growing up is find something that will afford you to do your hobby or find a career that is your hobby. So being able to travel around the world, hunting, shooting, I'm extremely blessed to be able to do it.
Wow.
I got a couple follow-ups.
Yeah. First off,
Yeah,
that's just an
you bet.
awesome story. Obviously, you were an athlete, and what goes along with being an athlete is being generally really competitive, and that's a trait that when controlled can really drive you to do great things. And it sounds like that's been a part of your life from the get-go. But that's really a blessed path. I think there's a lot of stones, laid for it to be nice and smooth like that, to get into a company that long ago, and then to find just a fit that just works. And that's just amazing to hear. Sorry, Preston, go ahead.
No.
Absolutely.
So obviously you played all the sports. Golf seems to be probably the one you were the best at.
Yeah, I was a slow white guy, so I was really good at football. I had a weird combination. We grew up in a football powerhouse. We had 127 games, something like that, winning streak. So the only football game I ever lost was my senior year in the state championship. Prior to that, we had 6 state championships in a row. So I had a unique combination. I played inside linebacker and wide receiver. So that's not a combination you see a whole lot. But
Not often.
I love football. Football was probably my favorite sport. Basketball was I enjoyed them all. Golf I had the most success at. I played some of the mini tours for a while, and played some of the Southwest sectional events, things of that nature. And I still play golf to this day. It's one of those sports that you could play for a lifetime. But the ironic part about it, which we kind of hit about it earlier, is obviously the competitive side. I'm a very competitive individual. So when I got into the long range competition shooting, the PRS, the Nrl type shooting, I got into it about 5 years ago, and on a whim, we actually had a guy hosting a match wanted me to sponsor the match, and so ended up sending some product for the match, and he got me into the match, and so I shot my first match, and from there I didn't realize that there was a competitive void missing in my life, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really, besides the camaraderie, the types of individuals that you see at the matches, the testing of our products, the competitive nature drives me. I always want to try to do better. I've made some progress over the last 4 or 5 years, but I've got a long way to go to be able to compete with some of the big boys out there. But I continue to work at it, and that drive, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy the process, not so much, the matches itself, but getting better and seeing the progress in there. It just keeps the driving force just to keep going at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very competitive guy. Now, the other follow-up question, right out of college, you're going to South Dakota. How was that connection made between you and HS?
Yeah, the owner and founder of the company at the time. How did that pan out?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout college, I worked at a golf course in North Scottsdale called Troon Country Club. Tom Houghton Sr., the founder of HS Precision, was a member at that golf course. So we played a lot of pro-am events. We traveled all around the Southwest, Arizona, California, playing pro-am events, and just developed a real special relationship. And once I got engaged, I wanted to get out of the golf business. I was never good enough to make it to the PGA Tour or the big show. Wanted to start a family. We were engaged at the time, so I actually put in my notice at the golf course. Well, Tom Houghton Sr. found out about it and said, "What are you going to do?" And I'd taken a different job and a different career path, and I told him what I was going to be doing. He's like, "Nope," said, "Unacceptable." He's like, "You're coming to work for me." And I knew he owned a rifle company. He knew I loved to hunt and fish and stuff, but didn't know a whole lot about rifles at the time. And I said, "Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it." But he just didn't accept no for an answer. And, we had that kind of special bond. And so anyway, he's like, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to fly you up to Rapid City. You and Jan take a look at the place and let me know what you think." So he did. We flew up here. I saw more white-tailed deer in a 40-mile loop than I have in probably the past 10 seasons in Arizona. So obviously coos deer there, but you put it in perspective. There's just a tons of deer. The area was great. And I'm all right. So he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. 2 weeks later, I packed up my car, drove the 22-hour drive up to Rapid City, made it straight through by myself, was here for about 2.5 months, and then went back to Arizona, got married, moved my wife and my oldest daughter at the time, which was 5, up to Rapid City and never looked back. And like I said, we've been here for 18 years now and just love the area, love the company. I've got no complaints. It's just been absolutely a fantastic journey, and I look forward to continuing the journey.
It's all about connections. That's great how that worked out. When you took that first job in Rapid City, at what level were you working for Tom? What were you doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started just in the sales department, just sales and technical support, answering the phones, releasing sales orders, working with production to schedule things, just kind of just a general sales department. From there, I moved to director of sales and marketing. And then from there, let me backtrack. So from sales, I went to sales manager, then director of sales and marketing, and now I currently sit as vice president of sales and marketing. And I've been in that position now for about 5 years, maybe 6 years.
Beautiful. Just couldn't ask it to work out any better than that. And Rapid City, South Dakota, western half, southwest corner of South Dakota, when you die and go to heaven, it might be in that neck of the woods. It's just gorgeous up there. I love everything about South Dakota, especially, that surrounding area of Rapid City. Just amazing topography, the animals, the amount, like you mentioned with deer, just the sheer amount of animals that you see, not just deer, but it's just remarkable. I really like that place.
It is actually funny story. Last night I was actually out shooting some gun, getting ready for a match, but coming back, I wasn't paying attention like I should be. And this deer ran out in front of me, and it was the closest I came to hitting the deer. I still don't know how I missed it. I slammed on the brakes, and a foot off the front of my car. I'm like, oh my goodness. So luckily, I've been here for 18 years. I haven't smoked a deer yet with a vehicle, but last night it was pretty darn close.
Yeah, knock on wood. It's gamey up there. Love it.
It is. Yep, absolutely. Beautiful area. We love it.
Yeah. So I want to dive in, and we talk about you coming to HS Precision. Tell us, what is HS Precision? How did it start? What does HS Precision do?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. We are a very multifaceted company. We started in 1978. Tom Houghton Sr. obviously founded HS Precision. We actually started as a barrel manufacturer. So he purchased Atkinson Barrel Company in Prescott, Arizona, and started doing cut rifle barrels. From there, we actually went in and were the first company to develop and incorporate an aluminum bedding block inside a synthetic or a composite stock. That really kind of put us on the map, and most people obviously know us for our stocks. So that continued through the 80s with the contract for the Army M24 sniper rifle for Remington. We've provided that stock from then. And then kind of fast forwarding, we started building custom rifles in the late 80s, early 90s on Remington 700 actions. And then in 1996, we developed our own action and started doing our complete line of rifles. So we're one of the few rifle manufacturers in the entire world that build every single component of the gun. So the barrel, the action, the trigger, the stock, the firing pin, the bolt, every single major component that goes into it is built right here in Rapid City. So, obviously we've got a conglomerate of different products that we offer to detachable magazine assemblies, a direct conversion kit for a Remington 700. Ballistic test barrels, which we work very closely with you guys, obviously, on ballistic test barrels. So we're the leading supplier and producer in the world of that type of equipment. Complete barrel blanks, complete rifles, detachable box magazines, stocks. We do 140 different stock configurations, ton of volume on an OEM basis. So we kind of cover the gamut across the board, but not so much in our product itself, but we also take great pride in being a company that manufactures everything internally. We also do it from raw material. We build all of our own tooling out of that as well. So all of our chamber reamers, rifling heads, everything that we do from the production process is built internally, and that's something that we take great pride. Now, over the years, as we've developed, we've started to offer some aftermarket options for specialty-based items, triggers, muzzle brakes, and things of that nature. But we'll always continue to build every single component in-house.
That is
bet
amazing.
You could count on one hand the number of companies that does that.
Yeah, especially when you get into, like you said, fire control groups and triggers and firing pins and all the little things. There's a ton of gun assemblers out there.
Right.
But legitimate gun builders, from tip of the muzzle to butt pad on the rifle stock and everything in between. That is remarkable, and you really get to control and dictate your level of quality, your level of precision, what tolerances you accept, and that's how you end up with such a product that across the board is just known for unrelenting quality. And I think, like you mentioned, a lot of the general consumer, myself included, I got introduced to HS Precision through the rifle stocks.
Yep.
I mean, that was, you get a Remington 700 and a piece of Tupperware, first thing you do is toss that thing in the trash and get a HS stock, and it instantly enhances so many features of it, the ergonomics and the accuracy and its shootability. A lot goes into it. But then, yeah, you guys got everything. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the and you know, and it is something that we take great pride in. You know, we've got 75 employees and some of them have been here 30 plus years. So, you know, it's not something, it's one thing to just kind of say, hey, we do this or we do that, we build that, but we've got such a great team of skilled machinists, you know, a fantastic sales staff. And it's, you know, we're a company that we get out there and we use our products. We test them. We continually try to get back and make things that are better. But we're also held 100% accountable for everything. So that's one of the advantages, and sometimes people would call it a disadvantage when you make everything. If there is an issue or there's something wrong with it, we point the finger 100% back on us because we're not relying on anybody to supply us with a part or a piece that may not meet our quality control standards. And when that does happen, we take care of it. So it is something that we do take great pride in.
Awesome. And yeah, and understandably so. Now, I want to maybe go down a rabbit hole, if you will, or take a quick tangent on rifle barrels. That's how the company was started. And just anecdotally speaking, and from use in our lab, you know, there's a lot of good barrel makers out there, and there's certainly accurate barrels all over the world. Some of the cheapest, most inexpensive button rifle barrels I've ever used, I've had generally good accuracy with. However, the level of accuracy and precision and consistency from an HS barrel is borderline, you know, unrivaled. I mean, there's a lot of good manufacturers out there, like I mentioned, but you guys are right up there at the top of the heap. And I want to have you kind of educate us, if you can, on maybe what are the advantages of an HS barrel specifically, but also of cut rifling. You know, and I think generally there's not a ton of knowledge out there of the difference between a button rifled and a cut rifled barrel, and what you guys do to control that, and just kind of barrels in general, because that's, gosh, as a shooter, you got to have a good barrel, and it's hyper important. And you guys are right up there with some of the best barrels ever in the history of the world. So, what's a cut rifled barrel mean to HS, and how do you guys do that, and what are the advantages?
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up very valid points in that there are a ton of great barrel manufacturers that are out there, button rifle, cut rifle barrels. The main difference, obviously, across the board, and there's obviously a caveat to it, but you know, a general rule of thumb, a cut rifle barrel will perform better than a button rifle barrel. However, with that being said, you could take a button rifle off of a very economical factory rifle and it could shoot in the same hole. It shoot little tiny bug holes, right? You take any of the manufacturers out there and it has the capability of shooting fantastic. However, with that being said, you could take the same calibers across the line, and you may have the next 15 of them that don't shoot so well. So a cut rifle barrel versus a button rifle barrel, obviously on a cut rifle barrel, you're physically cutting and removing the steel from the barrel itself. So with a button rifle barrel, you're just pulling a big button and you're basically displacing the material, displacing the steel. So it's just like anything else. A machine part is always better than a forged or a cast part. We're basically machining that barrel and removing the steel. We use old World War I, World War II era Pratt & Whitney cut rifling machines, sign bar machines. So they don't make these machines anymore. It's a very slow, a very tedious process. Our barrel maker who runs those machines, his name's Doug, and this guy is an absolute genius. He is, what he does, those machines, he's taken those machines and custom fabricated the machines from, and I'm not a machinist, I'm not a production guy, so I don't know a ton about what he's done or the process that he's done, but he's taken them and custom fabricated motors and brackets and mounts and whatever it is to keep those machines up and running. He'll take his rifling heads, the cutters that we use to actually cut the rifling into the barrel. he machines those and makes those himself. The guy's just an absolute phenomenal genius. So not only the process of cut rifling barrels, which kind of separates us, but that particular individual in his skill set over the 35 plus years that he's been doing it is a tremendous asset to HS Precision. And for example, and he's a tremendous gunsmith as well. Like, I'll get my match gun, my competition gun up and going. I just bring in parts. Here's the barrel, here's the stock. I say, Doug, build this for me, buddy. And he just puts it all together himself and builds an absolute hammer. But that's the biggest thing. So on the barrel side itself, building your own tooling for it certainly helps. And it's a slow, tedious process. We do everything so that we don't induce additional stress to the material or stress to the steel. So removing very little bits of material at a time, it's about an hour and a half to sometimes 2 hour process just to rifle the barrel. So, we don't do high volume. We do everything slow and perfectly.
That's awesome.
Quality over quantity.
It's quality over quantity, and that was a really good analogy of machining a barrel versus forging or the cutting versus displacing material. And if you're going to displace material, I could see that material displacing differently at different locations inside the barrel and getting a little bit larger diameter here and a little tighter here, and some different stresses within the barrel length versus cut. And taking out small passes each time being kind of the ultimate in consistency.
Right. Yeah, you take it all out at once, that barrel probably has a tendency to get a little wonky. Yeah. So they got to do a little bit at a time.
You're exactly right. In the physical production side of the barrel itself, so basically what we're doing is we're going to make a pass. That barrel is going to go in on a traditional 6-groove barrel. Our rifling head's going to come from the extracting process. That rifling head's going to go in there and physically cut one section of the groove out at a time. It's going to rotate. It'll index. It'll go to the next groove, come back in and cut very small, minuscule amounts of material out. And it keeps doing that, and it goes to the proper the groove depth that we need for whatever particular caliber that we're running. So another advancement that we've had about 4 or 5 years ago was an investment in a barrel scanning technology. So we use a 3-dimensional laser scanning machine that'll actually scan the internal dimensions, bore, groove, twist rate, all the internal surfaces and diameters of that barrel itself. So most guys in a production process building cut rifle barrels, you're obviously able to look at it through a bore scope. You look at it through and do an air gauge measurement. We're able to do those same things, look at it through a bore scope and see if there's any, major defects in there, maybe some machine marks, some cutter marks, things of that nature. But we can put that barrel, and so now every barrel that we build or produce, whether it's a rifle barrel, a barrel blank, a ballistic test barrel, we're scanning it internally inside this 3-dimensional laser scanning, which can measure to 1/10,000th of an inch, which is basically if you were to stack a sheet of paper up by 10,000 reams of paper, that's how precise this measurement is. So it'll tell us exactly the bore, the exact bore diameter, the exact groove diameter, the exact twist rate. So there's no speculation. So what's that done is by taking these measurements, we've been able to validate the production process. It allows us to improve our processes internally. It allows us anytime we need to change out a cutter or a rifling head, maybe dimensionally it's out of spec a little bit, those measurements are picked up right away from scanning it through the laser. It'll give you a printout. There's graphs, charts. It's a really advanced, very sophisticated. There's no better way to measure the internal diameters of a barrel. So we've been utilizing that process. We scan every single barrel that we produce, and that's just validating the type of quality that goes into any of our barrels.
Wow. So you go from out one side of your mouth saying you're rifling barrels with World War I and World War II era machines, and then out of the other side of your mouth you have space age technology essentially
on every barrel.
Barrel. So testing that quality, and it only goes to prove that those old machines, and with the operator that you have and the tooling that you have, are producing world class levels of consistency inside a barrel. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Old school technology to the newest advanced technology that's out there. So, they just don't make those types of machines to do a cut rifle barrel any longer, nor can you get a process or a cut rifle barrel better than any other type of scene. So a lot of guys are running them on CNC machines and things of that nature. It's just it's a proven process, and there's just no better way to do it. At least that we haven't found out anyway.
Well, and it's similar to what we have here with our bullet presses and our ammo machines. A lot of our bullet presses, those are Waterbury ferrule transfer presses from 1930, or they're just presses that go up and down, and it's the tooling that we make that goes inside them that makes a bullet. So kind of similar. Preston, you were going to say something like that.
I hope Doug is a very young man, or he has several kids that want to follow in his footsteps.
Hey, that's a valid point.
He is aging well. He is aging well. I'll just keep it at that.
Well, I hope he's training the next one too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sounds like a great tool.
Yeah.
It's kind
yes, he is. He's absolutely. He's phenomenal. Yep. Yeah, he is phenomenal. And the guy, I mean, he used to be a world-class archer. Shot competitive archery for a long time. So he's a cool individual. And he has been passing on his skill set. We've got some guys under his training and tutelage that are doing a phenomenal job as well. So we're very lucky for not only a lot of employees that believe very firmly in the product, but they believe very firmly in their position, what they're doing, and it takes it takes great pride to be able to do a lot of the skill set. I don't have a skill set that any of these guys do, right? I talk on the phone. That's pretty much all I can do. So these guys, from the machinists to the guys sanding the stocks and painting the stocks, it's craftsmanship across the building that I couldn't do a single thing out there. So, I just stay in the front offices and answer the phone, and the rest of the guys make the product and make the product what it is.
Yeah. And I'm guessing 90 to 100% of your employees hunt or shoot or do something outdoors, and they're very involved.
Very, very much so. Yeah. A lot of them, it's always difficult when fall comes around, because we're planning, most guys are planning vacation around hunting season. So, we've got to be cognizant of that and just kind of figure it all out as that comes by. But yes, you're correct. Most of us all shoot, hunt, are just involved in the shooting community, outdoors in general, camping, hiking, fishing. And then the Black Hills is obviously a great place to do that stuff. So,
ain't it the truth? Yeah. You guys got a lot of opportunity up there. So, from barrels, obviously that's a critical point of accuracy, and obviously, the action has a lot to do with that as well. But, this is not necessarily the foundation of the company, HS Precision, but like we'd already spoke about, it's kind of what most people get their first introduction to your company is the rifle stock. You guys, you have those as, components. You can just buy that stock off the shelf, put them on your factory rifles. You have military and law enforcement contracts with your systems. But again, that first thing you do, upgrade the rifle stock, HS is kind of the first stop for a lot of folks. What goes into a rifle stock? Obviously, you said you guys were the first ones with an aluminum bedding block, which now that's kind of the standard. A lot of things have come from that, but from a material standpoint and a shape standpoint, you guys, your stocks are bulletproof. I've done a lot of crazy things.
I'm going to jump in here and just say, you don't give away any trade secrets or anything. I have several of your stocks, and I could beat them against a cinder block wall and not get the paint to come off. That stuff is tough.
That's where I was headed. I said I've done some crazy stuff with it. You get a precision rifle in and out of a barricade. You get a hunting rifle, and it's scraping against your pack or whatever else. I don't know. Yeah, that's also space age technology or something.
Probably.
But talk us through making a rifle stock, or I don't know anything about how you physically make it. I just know that they're awesome.
Right. Yeah. No, that's and we get that question quite frequently. So basically, all of our stocks, we build them out of a molding process. So the molding process, we actually are going to take aluminum molds now. So we'll actually machine the diameters. We've got a big R&D cell here. So anytime we're coming up with a new stock, new development of it, it'll run it through the R&D department. They'll machine the mold itself. It's out of aluminum. So we're going to take two sides of the mold itself. We have a proprietary-based tool that we allow the aluminum bedding block to be centered inside the mold. So with all of our stocks, we don't make a stock without an aluminum bedding block. So the aluminum bedding block is CNC machined specifically for the action that's going on. Whether it's one of our rifles, whether it's an aftermarket stock or an M stock for Remington, Winchester, CZ, Savage, Weatherby, Cooper, Howa, the list goes on and on and on. So right now, so basically back to the mold. So we're going to take the two sides of the mold. This proprietary technology is going to center the aluminum bedding block inside the mold. And then we take a resin-based compound, and then we add Kevlar, carbon fiber, and fiberglass. And we use an abundant amount of those materials itself on each side of the mold to give additional strength and security to the stock itself. Then we're going to take that two sides of that mold, we're going to bolt them together, and then we're going to inject it with a very dense polyurethane type foam material. Tom Houghton Sr., the founder of our company, originally was a chemical engineer before he got into building rifle barrels and stocks. So he used this mixture and his background in chemical engineering to define this mixture back in the 70s. So we're actually still using a very similar mixture of the polyurethane foam material that goes into our stocks. So we're going to inject the mold with the foam material. We're going to let that cure and harden. And then what a lot of people don't realize about our stocks is once it comes out of the mold itself, it serves a few purposes. Obviously, we've got the Kevlar, the carbon fiber, the fiberglass. We've got the aluminum bedding block. We've got the shape of the stock itself. But there is a ton of hand finishing and hand work that goes into the stock. So once it comes out of the mold, it's not done. There's inletting to clean up the overflow, the seam lines, everything like that in the stock. So we have got a ton of very skilled individuals that are standing on the stocks, gauges, checking everything with them, priming them, painting them. So there's a ton of work on hands-on work that goes into the stock. Every single stock that we build is unique as its own. It's like a human fingerprint. The color patterns are never going to be exactly the same. The webbing will never be exactly the same. Obviously, they're going to look extremely similar, but every single stock is individually finished by hand, is individually painted by hand. So it's a very tedious and lengthy process on the finishing side of the stocks as well. But the main purpose of that, like right now, we offer about 142 different stocks. The majority of our stock volume is on an OEM basis, which we supply to other various rifle manufacturers that are out there that utilize our stocks and sell rifles as complete packages with our stocks on there. So a lot of the guys in the industry will think of these people as our competitors, which we don't. These guys are our customers. They're utilizing our products. And it's such a neat industry. It's such a small industry. Obviously, we work in conjunction with you guys and a lot of other ammunition manufacturers as well. But we supply stocks to what people always tell us, well, why do you sell stocks to them? They're your competitor. They're not. They're our customers, and we work closely with them. We hunt with them, and so it's just a neat industry to be a part of. And the stocks definitely are our biggest entity. That's what's put us on the map. And we're constantly offering new stocks. We listen to our customers. Every year we basically create a master database Excel spreadsheet. So anytime we get a request for a stock that we don't currently offer, we mark a check mark on that one. Okay. And so subsequently over the years, and especially the last 4 or 5 years, we've really started offering stocks that we previously haven't offered based on demand. So we've got 4 currently in the mix right now that are going to be some awesome stocks for stuff that we currently have never done before. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome. That's
142 options. That's a lot.
That's a
and
lot.
There's more coming.
For a company of less than 100 people to manufacture.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions as it relates to this? Before I was going to shift a gear here, but
complete rifles. They're obviously held to an accuracy standard. Can you talk about that and what it is per? I don't know if it's per caliber, per cartridge.
Yeah, absolutely. So every rifle we have an Oler 85. Obviously, you guys are familiar with that, but we've got a 100-yard tunnel that sets underneath our facility. So we build during the production process. Basically, we build almost any caliber that there's factory head stamp brass available for. So we offer a ton of different caliber configurations, barrel length, everything. So the customer can come to us and say, okay, this is the model that I want. This is the caliber, color, barrel length, twist rate, accessories. And then once we build the rifle itself, we do test fire every single rifle. It has to shoot 1/2 inch or better for anything 30 caliber or smaller. So 300 PRCs, Ultra Mags, 6.5s, anything 30 caliber or under, it's going to be a 1/2 inch or better. We'll actually send you a copy of the test target. the load data information, whether that's factory ammunition or a hand load. Anything 30 caliber or larger up to 458 lot, we guarantee an inch or better. Same process. We'll shoot the rifle, we'll validate it, and we'll send you a copy of the test target and the factory or hand load data information provided with it. It gives you group size, extreme spread, SDs, a ballistics table out to about 500 yards. So it's helpful to get the initial load development or initial gun going. But the only reason we do that, we go through the production processes to guarantee our tooling by building and manufacturing our own chamber reamers, our own rifling heads. We build all of our own receivers, bolts, stocks, everything in house. But the bottom line is that's all irrelevant or insignificant if the product don't work. So if the gun doesn't shoot half an inch, it doesn't matter if we did the best tooling, the best barrel. There's just some circumstances where everything fits together, everything looks perfect, everything is perfect and should shoot fantastic. But sometimes it just, for whatever reason, doesn't meet that half-inch accuracy guarantee. So we correct that prior to it ever leaving the factory. So if the gun doesn't meet our accuracy standard, then we tear it apart and we figure it out. Whether it's a barrel issue, whether it's a stock, could be a receiver issue. Whatever the case may be, lots of times we start over from scratch and we build a completely new, different rifle. It happens occasionally. I would say it's pretty darn rare because of the processes and our refined production techniques. But there are circumstances where, for whatever reason, the gun doesn't shoot. We fix it and we recertify it and test it prior to it ever leaving the facility.
And you said that's not always with hand load. Sometimes that's with factory ammo.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a ton of factory. So the most popular calibers right now, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, 300 PRC. We use Hornady factory ammunition. It's a combination right now. Obviously, you guys, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. Ammunition is extremely tough to come by. So sometimes we're doing actually testing with, I'll do 300 PRC, for example, with the 212 ELDX versus the 225 match. Both of them out of our rifles seem to shoot as consistently equal. So whatever we have available, we'll do the accuracy testing with either the match ammo or the ELDX. Same across the board with 6.5 Creedmoor, 6 Creedmoor. We do a lot of the 103 ELD and 108 factory ammo. So most of your traditional common stuff, we are doing the accuracy testing with factory ammunition.
That's awesome.
They generally get into the hand loads with some of the unique calibers that you can't really find or have readily available. Some of the quote unquote wildcats, which we started offering, again, expanding our cartridge line or caliber offerings to some of the stuff that basically if it's readily available from a brass standpoint, like we don't do a lot of the wildcats like the Ackley Improves or anything like that. We do offer a couple of them, 280. To be one, but we don't get into the real crazy wildcats, but we do offer virtually any caliber with factory headstand brass available.
Yeah. Well, when you make your own reamers, you can, chamber whatever you want.
Do whatever you want, but that says a lot for the ammo and for the gun and or both.
I'd say both technologies advanced, both of them, and it says a lot for, you're making quality stuff, and that's not inexpensive. So if you buy an HS built rifle, you have that peace of mind that the tool you're buying performs. It's already been tested.
Yep.
This is related real quick. You've got an infinite number of combinations of barrel length and twist rate and stock configuration when you build a rifle. Of your factory built rifles, what's your most popular or couple most popular cartridge offerings that you see people buying the most?
Oh, absolutely. 6.5 Creedmoor, still to this day. It's
Really?
been going strong for the last 10 years. I would say by far, definitely in any of our platforms, whether it's our lightweight rifle, our PHL 5.5 pound gun to our HTR heavy tactical 11.5 pound gun, 6.5 Creedmoor by far most popular, followed by the 6.5 PRC. 6.5 PRC has come on strong, especially on the hunting side. We've got a new carbon fiber rifle that we're doing along with a PLR. And those are predominantly extremely popular in the 6.5 PRC. We still do a ton of 7 mags, 300 Ultra mags. 300 PRC is another one that's been extremely popular, but it's still 6.5 Creedmoor by far is our go-to. It's been the most requested one. And with our rifles, we don't build a single rifle until it's ordered. So our customers will spec it out, and a lot of times they'll come to us. They've heard of HS Precision. You're not going to find our our rifles in your local sporting goods store or a big box office store because we build them to your order. So customers can say, okay, hey, you know what? I've heard of, case in point, I've heard of the 6.5 Creedmoor. My buddy has a 6.5 Creedmoor. What's a good platform for it? Well, we've got so many we have 14 different rifle configurations, just bare rifle itself, not including barrel length, twist rate, barrel contour, any accessories. So basically, go to the customer and says, I want a 6.5 Creedmoor. We'll figure out what they want to do with it, right? Is it going to be a hunting rifle? Is it going to be something that they want to just get into PRS or NRL type competitions? Is it something they want to be a hybrid, right? So they want to do a little bit of both. So we'll kind of talk to them and find out what their needs are for that particular caliber and what they're going to do with it. Then we'll find the appropriate gun for them. Then, we'll talk them through barrel length and twist rates and accessories, whether they're going to do a suppressor or a muzzle brake. And so we've got a very experienced sales staff. All of our sales guys, they hunt, they shoot, so they test our products. They know what they're talking about. So we kind of walk them through it. Our goal with any of our customers on our custom rifle side of things is to get them exactly what they want. If they're unsure, we'll give them some suggestions. We'll point them in the right direction. But ultimately, it's an open canvas, and they can paint whatever rifle that they want, whatever caliber, barrel length. So that's something that we also take great pride in. It's not a run of the mill, pull it off the shelf, and go out and shoot it. So everyone is built on an individual per order basis to the customer specifications.
Absolutely awesome.
It's a whole custom shop.
Custom shop from the true definition of the word. I mean, everything in there is custom. It's incredible. It's like it's almost like one of those self-fulfilling statements. Like if you buy a mill and a lathe, you could build a mill and a lathe. Well, if you bought HS Precision, you could build everything it takes to build the rifle. They're building the tools that build the rifle, and everything is custom. And as a customer, you get exactly what you want and the way you want it. And there's something to be said about that. It's convenient sometimes to be able to go to a big box store and get a factory rifle. And there's some great factory rifles out there that are comfortable and are modular. But when you really treat yourself and you get exactly what you want in the exact way you want it, it feels good.
Treat
I like
yourself.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
So sort of
absolutely
changing gears here, or changing topics rather. I would say 5 years ago, Preston and I were both doing the precision rifle thing a lot more than we do right now.
Yep.
It was our lives sans children. So we were shooting way more matches. And I'll say this, and I don't mean to be rude by saying it, we did not see a lot of HS represented in the precision rifle world. However, that has definitely been changing over the years, obviously with a heavy hand from you. What did you see did you change anything? I'm trying to think of a way to word that. Obviously, you make really good varmint rifles, like pounded on prairie dogs and that kind of thing, which there are a few in South Dakota. Was there a lot of changes to any configurations that you did, or was it just like, hey, we've already got all the tools to make a precision rifle? Let's start getting these more and more available and more seen and more out there in the precision rifle world? Because now it's not uncommon to go see an HS rifle on the line, where 5 years ago you really didn't see that. It was almost more of a hunting only type rifle, in my opinion, obviously.
No, and you're exactly right. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. We did not have, with the occasional stock, maybe some bottom L or something like that, but we really, as a company, did not have a presence out there. And that's been something that, because the precision rifle shooting sports has been one of the fastest growing shooting sports that's out there. So, we really had to take a hard look at it from a company standpoint. About that 5 or 6 year mark ago, right? 7 or 8 years even, where we didn't have a presence. I went to my first match just to kind of get a feel for it, right? To see what was going on. A very long story short on that, it was actually it was a PRS match, the Battle of Breakneck, I believe is what it was called. But
one of my favorite matches.
The one in Western Nebraska, it's literally like 3 hours. The match director, Lee Anderson, called me up and says, hey, here's this match. And I knew obviously about the PRS. I knew it from a company standpoint in there. But at the time, I had absolutely no desire to shoot one of the matches. Um, it just was, for whatever reason, I'm not sure why. Obviously, it just didn't appeal to me, and I don't know how to this day why it didn't. But anyway, very long story short, he said, "Hey, donate to the prize table. We'll save some spot for you. Come and shoot the match." And I said, "Oh, I'm happy to support the match. We'll send some stuff to the prize table. I don't have any interest in shooting the match." And so he was very persistent, and I still thank him to this day because of it. So anyway, I went and shot the match. In the first stage, I didn't have a Kestrel, I didn't have a shooting bag, I didn't have a ballistic solution. I literally printed out a ballistic solution online the day before the match. I was shooting an HTR with a Zrosky X5 factory ammo, Hornady 6.5 Creedmoor 140 ELD match. And literally, I get up on the first stage. I'm first to shoot, last name Cluff, obviously, so I go first. And I have no equipment whatsoever other than the gun, the scope, and the ammo, right? So I go the first target, and it's literally you're shooting off of the edge of a barbed wire fence. You have the rungs of the barbed wire, boom, 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 first position, second position. I don't know how I somehow hit one target, right? I just set my gun up against the post.
Boomshakalaka.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I got one. Next stage, I think I get a 0. And at this point in time, the guys in my squad are like, all right, hey, this guy obviously has no idea what he's doing. He's a new shooter. We're going to help him out. So by the third stage, I had a guy with a Kestrel give me wind calls. Somebody loaned me his dope sheet so I could write my dope down, put the wind down on there. They were programming my velocities into their Kestrel, just loaned me shooting bags. I mean, absolutely everybody in my squad was just trying to help me hit targets. And so not only was that great, but I looked at that. So that match ended up being called after one day because it was snowing and miserable.
People
and so
almost
it just
died.
basically ended. Yeah, I think I did. I mean, at the end of that, my hands were shaking. I wasn't dressed appropriately anyway. So anyway, it was brutal. I mean, I hit a few targets that time, but so that was on Saturday. So Sunday they called the match. It was snowing again. So on my drive home, I have about a 3-hour drive home, and I really sit back and reflected. And I'm like, you know what? This is something I want our company to be involved with. Not so much the shooting of the matches themselves, but the individuals, the camaraderie. I mean, where else can you go to somewhere where you've got 100, 150 competitors that are all trying to beat everybody, but are giving you every possible thing they could do off the shirt off your back? Hey, you need a shooting bag. Hey, you need a Kestrel. You need this. You need that. Everybody in my squad was just trying to help me succeed. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? That is something I want HS Precision to be involved with. And subsequently, fast forward 5 years later, we're able to pay it forward a little bit. We're able to help with some product to the prize table. We're getting new shooters involved. And it's just, you go to the matches, the competition side is absolutely fantastic. I see that's the main purpose of holding the matches. But when you get 150, 150, whatever the match is, of like-minded individuals that are, just talking about shooting and hunting, we stay, obviously, matches in the past. We've got Airbnbs and cabins, and we barbecue steaks and drink a few beers and eat some hamburgers and just kind of sit there and talk about life in general. So, the camaraderie of it, it's been a great proving platform for our product as well. So it's something I wish I could do a lot more of. Obviously, as you mentioned, with schedule and things of that nature, it's not conducive for me to be able to shoot many matches anymore. But I'll try to get 3 or 4 or 5 in every single year, and it's been a great venue for our product, and we've gradually got more and more product out there, and we've learned a lot. How can we improve our product? There are certain things. We've got several things in the pipeline right now that are in the pre-production phases that we've learned strictly from our product being utilized in some of these long-range precision rifle type of competitions.
Wow. That's quite a story in a relatively short time frame. And I think Preston, agree with him, agree with me. What I'm about to say, I'm assuming you will, is that the camaraderie and the willingness to, like you said, Josh, to just give somebody the shirt off your back to help them at a stage is really one of the reasons I enjoy going to these matches. You get a squad of guys, just some loose math. You get a squad guys. Let's say there's 10 guys in a squad. Each one of them is likely going to have between $2,500 and $5,000 worth of equipment.
Maybe 10.
And sometimes more.
Yeah.
My numbers are being conservative. Where else, in what other sport is somebody going to go, oh, you know what? You want to shoot the match? Here, I got my training rifle. There's a $3,000 setup. You
Take this
run my
ammo.
training rifle
Yeah.
beat the snot out of it, because a lot of times you're up and over and banging stuff on barricades and sliding around. But the helpfulness of the community is really remarkable to see, and it's fun to be a part of, and you can't help but want to be a part of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember my first match. I think I hit 14 or 15 targets out of the 19, or out of the 90 possible. And everyone was so nice about it, and it just made me want more. And I think everybody that shoots these things maybe has that experience. At least I hope
they
that.
do. And the competitiveness, like Josh mentioned early, being competitive, and when you learn to control that emotion, it can really help you do a lot of great things and channel your focus and to hone your skill set. And there's a host of people out there that are still hyper competitive at these matches, and that's fine. But it doesn't always have to be like that. And a lot of times you can temper that by being friendly and being helpful, and that's awesome. And I would say, just from the company level, not me as an individual competitor, but being a steward for the company Hornady Manufacturing, I find it super worthwhile to go to a match and represent the company, because not every company that donates to the prize table has a shooter out there talking the talk and walking the walk. It's not always fun when it's 40 degrees and raining and the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour. And in fact, it's quite miserable for 2 days straight. But I hope that the people in the community see that, hey, Josh from HS, Seth and Preston from Hornady, and everybody else that participates from our companies, not only do they make the product, but they're out there using it, and they're out there helping people use it better, and they're talking to their customer base to find out what they want. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of product advancements that we've made just from being a part of the community. One of them really isn't necessarily a product as a way as it is a means of delivery, and that is, we didn't always sell our bullets in bulk. You could buy a box of 100 140 ELD matches. Well, we had so many competitors at these matches 5 years ago that wanted 2,000
I want to buy
bullets.
2,000. I want to buy 2,500.
Yeah,
I want to buy
5,000.
Whatever it is.
I want to buy as many bullets as it takes me to burn out this barrel.
Yep.
And now you can buy bulk flats of our most popular match
And
bullets.
I remember the very first match, we took bulk bullets to the prize table. We were all watching like a hawk to see how fast they went. And I think that, obviously it was a relatively big PRS match. So a couple rifles went first, and then shortly thereafter,
our bullets, it was like a test run of like, well, let's take a flat of bullets and see what happens before we release mass product. So it was in Saguache, Colorado, beautiful match, excellent venue. And, we take a whole bunch of prizes, but we took a flat of 147s. Spots 1 through 2 got rifles. Third place finisher got a Night Force attacker, I think. And then fourth place got to walk the table, and the first thing off the table was a flat 2,000 147s. And it's just neat to morph things and to help do better for the consumer base by participating in this. And the camaraderie's just been awesome.
It gives a level of authenticity. And Josh Cluff, like I say, I don't follow you to every match you go to, but you're everybody's friend at these matches too, and that's the cool thing. Not to toot your own horn, but
no, well, hey, appreciate it. And you guys, we've known each other for a long time, and you guys bring up a very valid point, right? So there's a lot of companies that are out there that support these matches, because without their support, we obviously wouldn't be able to do it. But I commend you guys from Hornady that are out there doing it, because I think it is extremely advantageous, because you do have a lot of guys that are supporting the matches in the industry, but don't have people from the factory or representatives that shoot it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I can't tell you how many times I've had people come up to me that have asked me questions about one of our products that are the match that they never would have asked had I not been at one of the matches. So how invaluable of a resource it is for me to be able to go to the matches, and to talk to people. I live life to the fullest, right? I enjoy life. I'm not going to be one of those people. I'll show up and I'm against one of the top competitors. Those guys are substantially better shooters than I am, but I want to get to that next level, right? So I want to show up and in the mindset, I'm going to do the best of my ability and I want to try to kick all your butts. But at the same point in time, I may get a zero a stage and I'm going to turn around and I'm going to laugh. I'm like, man, that sucked, but it's, you could be competitive and still enjoy life and have a good time. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Having people from HS Precision here and Hornady at the matches, you just learn a ton about, especially for us, we learn a ton about how we can improve our product, right? Where else can you go where you're shooting 250 rounds consecutive through all different terrains? How does the product hold up? What are areas can improve on? We believe very firmly that we build a high quality product, but we're not so ignorant enough to say that we can't improve upon it, right? So, learning some of these things, how our product stacks up against some of the best products that are out there. Because you see some of the best products in the industry at these PRS and NRL type matches because, these guys that are doing it are just absolute phenomenal shooters. You take that upper echelon and they could pretty much test anything and say, hey, here's the deal. You need to do this. Here's the issue with this product. Here's the issue with that. Or, hey, this is a great thing. So, I commend you guys for going to them and getting that feedback and taking that feedback back to the manufacturing side of things. I mean, no different than the inception of the ELDM and now the ATIP. That was, I would assume, a derivative of a lot of this stuff that's compiled from shooting this long-range precision rifle game.
Yep, 100%. And now to kind of change gears, jump topics again, although this one's very closely related. Before we get into this topic, well, we'll save it to the end. There's another subset of precision rifle matches, the Nrl Hunter Series. And that's something that I know, Josh, you're passionate about. Preston, it's just a great way to marry two of our passions together, precision long-range shooting and hunting type scenarios. And you get better at each separate sport by doing the NRL Hunter. And what I was going to mention was, Josh, you got a category win right here just recently. Numero
I did,
uno.
yeah, actually. What was it? Last weekend? Yeah, last weekend we won the Nahaka match. So yeah, it was a category win, right? Open heavy. So I'm just gonna say it was open heavy, but no, there was Dorgan. Dorgan always shoots really, really well. Andy Reinhardt just absolutely burned it down. They were both in open light heavy. Jim C shot well. So those guys kicked my butt, but I was able to come up on top on the heavy division. And that Nrl Hunter, it's an absolute blast, man. I just enjoy the heck out of those things.
Yep. I think just for the listeners, if you haven't done a precision rifle match before and you're more of a hunter, but you also like to hit stuff far away and you're just kind of looking for something to get into it, the NRL Hunter might be a perfect venue because you don't have to have the Gucci gear that a lot of folks are using in the Precision Rifle Series and the NRL Series, where you got 20-pound rifles, totally gamer guns with these giant 3-pound optics and all the bags and this, that, and the other thing. You have a hunting rifle that shoots a minute of angle or better. There's a minimum power factor that you have to fit into for your ammo, so you're not going to game it up shooting some little hot rod 6. You have to shoot a 6.5 or larger primarily. I think they'll let you get away with a 25 cal if you're shooting factory
ammo. Yep.
But there's the bars of entry are a lot lower for a guy looking into getting into competition, where you can have a lightweight rifle that shoots well, got some long range capability, a decent scope, and then from an equipment standpoint, there's not a ton of auxiliary equipment that you need to get into. And like I mentioned, if you're a hunter, it makes you a better hunter or a better shooter in a hunting situation. And if you're a precision rifle competitor, it'll make you a better one of those too. It really blends that stuff well. And if anybody's looking into getting into a precision rifle competition but doesn't want to go full-fledged circus stage kind of stuff, the NRL Hunter is really a good entry-level ground.
Likely somebody has something in their safe right now that they can go shoot NRL Hunter with.
If you've got anything chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor,
there you go.
What rifle are you
and that's
running?
the great. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask what rifle you ran for the NRL Hunter in that open heavy division.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and like last year was the first year of the NRL Hunter. So I actually shot in the open light division. Had a great time. Shot one of our PLCs in a 6.5 PRC. I did some hand loads shooting the 153s. This year I wanted to try something different. So I actually shot the open heavy with one of our HTRs in a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was shooting the 135s in the 6.5 Creedmoor. So that standpoint, it was definitely from an actual match application was definitely more advantageous running that heavier gun. And obviously 6.5 Creedmoor, a little less recoil. Those 135s, those might be my new favorite projectile. I love the 153s. I shoot the 110s in my match gun, but those 135s, just something about them. They just absolutely hammered, shot really, really well.
Yeah, they're near and dear to my heart, the 135s.
Near and dear to my heart. We can go on a quick tangent that we could talk about the 135 after Josh is done. Sorry to interrupt, Josh.
No, you're good. But no, it like I said, I've always loved the 110s, right? So I shoot those out of my match gun, a lot of the trainer guns and things of that nature. And then I've been shooting the 153 since their inceptions on the 6.5 PRC, and I ran them in the 6.5 Creedmoors once. I think obviously they're a much better fit out of the PRC than the Creed, but those 135s, I ran a fairly mild load, but I was running pretty good velocity. I was running about 2860, but no pressure signs or anything like that. And I mean, it just flat hammered. I was doing a ladder test and shooting them at 600, just shooting some phenomenal groups. And then I ran them out to about 1400. It was like 1405, and they shot extremely well. So I don't know what you guys do differently with the exception of those A-tips. Obviously, the design of the bullet is completely different rather than just the tip itself. But you guys have done an awesome job with them, man. That's for sure.
Well, we appreciate that. And so to rewind a little bit, you talked about the 135 being one of your favorite bullets. Well, early on in our competitive career, it was kind of right in the middle of the height of our competitive career.
For me, it was still pre-kids.
It was pre-kids for you. I think I had one child and one on the way. And so we were shooting quite a few matches a year, and we're always tinkering. And I say we, the R&D department, our ballistics team, the shooting group guys, like we're always trying to find a better way to do something. And so at the time we didn't have the A-tip, and Jaden, our senior ballistician, had been playing around with some stuff and some design attributes. And so we made kind of a couple flats, probably made 10,000 bullets or so. At the time it was an ELD tip, 135 grain bullet. And we weren't, we just kind of got them made and we were going to test them out. Well, this was right as I started working in ballistic engineering. And so I snatched some up and went to shooting. And just like you'd mentioned, there was something magical. Didn't matter how much powder and of what powder I put in there, they just shot. And so Preston and I ran those.
Jaden said, hey, try these out. I know you're going to shoot quite a few matches this year. Let me know what you think. I'd recommend, we don't have them in Fort Off yet. I'd recommend this BC. Eventually we did get them in Fort Off. That was great, under a secret name. But
I remember that.
Yeah, it was great. But that was before everybody started slowing stuff way down, right? So you could see trace. I mean, I was running them hot.
Yeah.
Probably a little hotter than I should have, but I think I had those 135 plastic tips going 2960 out of a 25.
Get her done, baby.
So,
mine was doing 2920.
Yeah.
But it just, they like you mentioned, they were so forgiving. And the first match that I ran them in was the Battle of Breakneck, but the first year that they had it on south of Broadwater, not north of Broadwater.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember that match. I'm pretty confident you were there. And the first day.
That was the one when it rained?
Yeah.
Well, no.
First day.
It did rain, yeah. And I swam because I lost a bet to you in the lake.
We'll get into the bet
you
later.
had a rope swing.
We'll get into
anyway.
that portion of the bet. Well, that was the first match where we might be a year off. Either way, the first day, the wind was blowing from 17 to, I think, 30 miles an hour. And normally when you get high winds in Nebraska, they get more consistent. Or if you're going to have a 20-mile-an-hour wind, it's going to be about 20. Well, this was pretty gusty. And that first match with these bullets, I lay down, and I went like 9 for 10 out to 1,400. And I was like, wow, there's something magic about this. And at the end of day one, I was in the top 20. And I was like, holy cow, I'd never even come close to that. Did not finish in the top 20. But that first day with that, I mean, I was walking away from stages going, you know, I caught just the edge of that plate. And normally running 140s at 2750, I'm not catching the edge of that plate. There was just something about them. And I was blown away. But now to get into what really makes these matches fun. We talked about being competitive and shooting and whatever. It's the camaraderie that keeps us coming back. And at this particular match, Preston, hyper competitive, really, you know, good athlete, collegiate athlete.
I used to be.
Josh, hyper competitive, obviously a good athlete. They're talking smack. And they're talking smack around a campfire, maybe after a big meal, couple mixed drinks. They're still talking smack. And there was a bet laid down.
Yeah. It was pretty much 1-for-1, no handicap. Who's going to win this match between him and I?
It's straight up. Yep. Who's going to win?
And this is where I learned to doubt Josh every time he tells me how he's doing. Because we met.
There might be some gamesmanship going on there a little bit.
Oh, man.
I remember meeting. We were crossing paths, switching stages one day, and I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "Oh man, just terrible." And I was like, "Great, I'm kind of doing terrible too." Turned out you just whooped on my butt, and I had to go swim in the lake.
So we get back. So
That's right.
Just to set the stage here, there was a campground outside of Bridgeport, Nebraska. Nice little campground, inconveniently right by the railroad tracks, but a beautiful little lake. And so Josh has got his camper backed into a spot. And then my dad, who went to the match with us, he backed his camper in right up next to it. And we had this little commune, you know, circled off where it was, you know, all of us just hanging out, bunch of HS guys, bunch of Hornady guys, and we're right by the lake. Now, this is mid-April in Nebraska. So it could be 90 degrees. It could be snowing. At this particular weekend, it was in the 50s and kind of raining. And so Preston lost. So we get back from the match, and you stripped her down, didn't you?
Almost all the way.
Preston
Save some things to the imagination.
All the way to the undies. He had to get that was the bet. Loser had to jump in the pond. So, Preston, you were a man of your word, buddy. You did it.
There's video evidence.
Video evidence, but the crazy part,
Right.
Nobody needs to see it.
Josh won the bet. He strips down to his skivvies, and he's in the water with you.
Well,
I didn't want him to do it by himself. You know, that was a celebration. Yeah, it was a celebration swim.
you're a man of integrity.
Well, and then I guess the cherry on top, if you call this an ice cream sundae, would be that 5 minutes later, Josh is jogging a quarter of a mile around to the other side of the lake to get on a rope swing. And he swings a backflip into the pond. And I mean, that thing had to be.
That's also on video evidence.
It's one of those things, you know. It's like when you're a kid and you go into a candy store, you just got to have a piece of candy. I seen that rope swing. I had to swing for that rope swing. And it was cold, man. It was cold, but
great
I had
time.
to do it. I just couldn't resist.
That's just a small glimpse into what, you know, shenanigans go on when we get together. But that's the friendships that you build through a sport like this.
Yep.
And the camaraderie that I think, you know, obviously being competitive guys, the competitive nature of shooting, you know, sports keeps bringing us back, but the camaraderie and the friendships and I got a lot of things to do this weekend of the match, but you know, I know my buddies, call up the homies, it's going down. I know my buddies are going to be there, and I don't get to see them that often. I'm going to go to that match anyway, just to spend the time with the guys. I find myself doing that.
Yeah, that's what it's all about for me anymore.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Preston, I mean, last weekend we were together at that Nahaka Nrl match. You know, we had cabins right next to each other. Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing the same exact thing and just, you know, sitting there and barbecuing and eating hamburgers and just hanging out is, you know, and we get a chance to sit there in that environment and talk about our products and just talk about life in general. And, you know, over those things, you can solve a lot of problems just by putting your heads together in that type of environment. Whether they're problems that need to be solved or not,
At least
you never
we think
know.
so.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, we just, you know, I just enjoy that aspect of it. And you know, especially when you get good friends that have been doing it for years, it's just nothing better.
Yep.
Love it. Is there anything else that you can think of you want to hit while we got Josh here? Captive audience. What do you?
I can't think of anything. Josh, is there anything that you want to add?
No, I don't think so, guys. It's always a pleasure. We work very closely with you guys on the ballistic test barrel side
Yeah.
of things, and that's been a business relationship that's been advantageous. I want to see to both of us,
Yeah.
certainly us, and it's always great chatting with you guys. Always great seeing you at matches. Look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So for the listeners out there considering going to the first precision rifle match, hopefully, if nothing else, you listen to this and you get the understanding that you can show up, minimal gear, minimal equipment, and there's going to be people there that want to help you. And on the other half of this podcast, I hope everybody listening, if you are in need of a rifle component, a rifle, HS Precision is a one-stop shop to get everything you need and of the highest quality. And hopefully that summarizes what we talked about today.
Give them a good look, and you're also on social media, but the website's hsprecision.com, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And check out the YouTubes. Josh is going to be out there putting some more videos out.
That's right.
Awesome.
They're always fun.
Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in on another episode of the Hornady Podcast. Preston, Josh, thanks for sitting down with me. And guys, we'll catch you on the next one.